Hi, Adora. How are you feeling? We're just moments away from you starting off the session. You mentioned that being first was a little bit nerve-wracking. Do you have anything planned in particular, or?
Yes, I do have some things planned. I do have a few remarks that I want to get across. But also one of the terrible things about coming last is that you absorb so much information from all the other speakers that you just want to plagiarize. And so you feel like you've got to get up there and not only give your own speech, but summarize what has just happened because it relates so much to the material of your speech. So that's a little bit of pressure. So sometimes I envy the people who went first because going last, it kind of prolongs the terror, and then going first of the last also. But this is all a little bit conjectural.
You mentioned some of the talks have influenced what you're going to say. Does that mean that have you changed any of your opinions or anything like that? Have you had to rewrite any sections?
Not really. It's more that I've had more examples that I've been able to add, which I'm really glad of because it gives me more ammunition. But at the same time, it also has given me a new lens through which to look at issues. I haven't really changed any of my big opinions on things, but it definitely has given me some more examples to cite and tell people, you know, this is a wonderful example, look at them, and which is a very good thing, I think.
Have there been any talks in particular that have stood out to you?
That is always a hard question because I am a sort of indecisive person, and also I pick a lot of things usually to be safe. If they let me, I would probably just circle every single option on a test. But and it's sort of like that here. I have pretty much a favorite speech from every section. I loved almost everyone, I would say. A lot of what stood out to me was the fact that it is all women, and I think that provides a really unique viewpoint. And I also enjoyed hearing from Christina Summers. I thought that what she had to say about how feminism affects the way that we treat boys, that was fairly interesting. And so also hearing about amnesty from Erna Paris, quite interesting topic. So those are two of my two speeches that would pop up on the radar probably.
And so after this talk, what do you think that you would have taken away from Idea City the most?
A lot of things, I would say. One of the things about going to a conference in which you hear so many speeches at such a rapid pace is that they really become assimilated in your mind. Something that I really took away, since kids are a big focus of mine in my speeches, I took a lot away from what Edna DeVore had to say about how explorers are kids who didn't really grow up, and I think imagination, curiosity, wonder, those are all sort of things that I'm really interested in, that I've learned a lot from the conference.
Is this any different to the other conferences that you've spoken at, or?
I would say that really each conference I go to is different. I go to a lot of education conferences, however, where the focus is not so much on big ideas as it is on specific details, for instance, education technology or interactive whiteboards or something like that. And so at a conference like this, you're really able to look at the big picture because they have really a speaker from all different aspects, where at a trade show it might be just one particular group.
Because you talk about education a lot, and this conference, as you mentioned, focuses a lot more on women and things like that. Is that something that you often think about or often talk about in your talks, just the difference between women and, I guess that they were saying in the talks, the influence women have? And
yeah, it definitely is a topic that interests me. I'm all for, you know, really women around the world having the rights that we have here, and really pushing for that and reform in all areas when it comes to women having equal rights. And I think that that's really important, but it even transcends women, I would say. Rights for everyone is a big important topic for me. But yeah, I was really glad that the speakers here are mostly women, because I thought that, well, this is the first conference I've been to where there have been a lot of women speaking. And then secondly, it really helped probably a lot of the men in the audience see that different viewpoint, which I think is important.
in the first session, when they were talking about the decline of the male, and they mentioned how young men can feel, is that something that you take into consideration with teaching and things like that?
I would say so, yeah, definitely, because I do, I video conference with classes, and so, and obviously these classes are typically co-ed. I don't think I've ever, one time I spoke to a class that seemed to be almost all boys, but I would say that I take into consideration really not just boys, but also that kids might have different learning paces, and I try to be very inclusive. I'm not saying, you have to know this or else you won't be able to learn this. I'm saying, here is something that I find interesting, here is something that I think you can learn from, and I don't try to place restrictions on whether or not you can learn it or how hard it is or whatever that might turn some people off.
Really interesting. kind of topics. But I look very forward to hearing your talk, and thank you for letting the tables turn.
Thank you very much. I look forward to hearing yours.